Hey there, everybody. So what's up? Welcome to this live stream. Sorry, a moment. I just had to make sure that it was actually going. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping here. I'm excited for you guys to be here. Can you let me know that you can hear me and see me okay? You can let me know by just typing in the chat. Give me a nice little letter Y and type in if you guys can see me and hear me okay. Want to make sure that's pretty important so that you not so much the seeing my face, but more so hearing and being able to hear everything that's going on. So, welcome everybody who's trickling on in. As you're making your way in, just let me know that you can hear me and see me okay. I'm checking the chat right now. Cool. Pelaz, good to see you. Braden T, Fearless, good to see you. Godspeed. Yeah, awesome. Patrick Farley. Okay, great. Dano, got you. Great, guys. Well, thank you so much for jumping on board. So this is exciting. This is the first time I've actually have done this, and I'm going to do the best that I can. So I appreciate any form of grace that you guys are going to be showing. But what we're going to be doing in this live stream is I'm going to be sharing some music production tips and techniques while recreating the beat that you can hear in Joji's Run. A lot of you guys requested doing something from Joji, and honestly, like, as I was going through some of his catalog, Run was like the first song I hit play on, and I was like, this is dope. This is a dope record. Now, I know from a production standpoint, there's things like Sanctuary and Yeah Right and things like that. So I might even tackle that in the future. And so if you're down for some of that down the road, you can let me know in the chat. Just hit, hit letter Y or whatever, and I'll go ahead and put that in the roster. So cool. I'm super excited to be doing this. Super stoked for you guys to be part of what's going on. So if you're new to the channel and if you're just jumping on board, welcome. If this is any of your first time being part of our live stream here on the YouTube channel, could you just type in the letter, or not the letter, the number 1? I'd love to actually just personally welcome you. And for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for jumping back and subscribing to the channel. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for me. I finished putting together the producing how to produce indie pop course. So just finished wrapping that up. I'm going to be announcing that to everybody who's been on the waiting list, and all of my PD Academy members. You're going to get first exclusive dibs into checking that out. And so check your inbox for the heads up with that. So that's all done. Super excited for that. And I'm also super excited for you to dive into it. Let me know how it's benefiting you guys and things like that. So I also been just swamped with projects and things like that. So my YouTube video stuff has kind of I'm trying to get disciplined into putting out consistently, but it was rough the past couple of weeks. So thank you guys for jumping on board. This is a real treat. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Can you guys see my screen okay? If you're noticing my attention's drawing over here, I have my laptop here with the chat room so I can, stay track with what you guys are saying. So Run. I'm going to focus on Run because even though it's very guitar heavy and it's relying a lot on whether you have a guitar, whether you are a guitar player or you have a guitar player friend handy, or of a llama that have trained to play guitar, any one of those scenarios would work. And so I want to talk about just navigating through that, and there's a couple nuances that can really be cool and crucial in adding into your workflow. So let's just jump right in. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to play the reference because I just don't want this video to be taken down. I don't know, for some reason. Even if I don't have the reference in my breakdown videos, I still get flagged. I get copyright strikes on pretty much 90% of all my videos. It's flattered. I like it because it makes it seem that I've gotten really close to the original, which is cool. So a couple things. Let's focus on the main spotlight here of this record, of this song, and that is the guitar track. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead of time, and I've got a guitar here. I don't know if you could see it in the shot, but it's not a crazy, it's a pretty cheap Telecaster. Excuse me. It's a pretty cheap Telecaster. I just went ahead and tracked And I'm not the greatest guitar player. I can just kind of noodle around to just do a couple things. And so if you're like me, what I've done was I kind of played each part or each chord continuously and then chopped them up. And that's why you can see all these cuts here. All right. So here's the guitar natural, just direct line in. All right, so it's got a long way to go. So let's start about crafting and getting us close to that tone. Now, when I heard the tone originally, man, it took me right back to the Metallica Nothing Else Matters. It's the same type of thing, the open E and that kind of vibe. And so I'm in my mind, amp simulation, really important part, especially if you're just plugging in, directly into your interface. So what I've got going on here, this is the dry guitar part. And as I said, my method, since I'm not the greatest guitar player, in Ableton Live, I would use my session view just to continuously play loops over and over, just kind of loop one riff, nail it down, and then just kind of use the best take, and then use that over here in my arrangement mode. So you can see these are all the different takes of all the different progressions. And I'll just highlight the best one and then place them here. Now, talking about the sound design, let's start right here with the first one in the chain, and that's our guitar rig. There's so many great guitar amp simulators. Amplitude has a really good one. The Slate Digital comes with, I like the Slate Digital one, really good. It's phenomenal. But what we're going to be using is just the Twang Reverb, otherwise known in the Twin, Fender Twin. So really great sound here. So this is just the amp. So we are using the built-in reverb in the guitar amp to create some dimension from this as well. All right, and then I've chosen it by default. I think it's on the condenser mic. And then when I switch over to the dynamic, it's not so heavy on the low mid. So that's what I'm going with that, and that's our first step here. And I'm going to use an EQ to carve out that low. Now I know when I listen to the reference, this is going to be hard because I can't A, B, and go back to the reference. So I'm really kind of doing this all by memory and ear here. There seems to be some good low end coming in from the guitar riff alone. But I'm going to cut that out and use this EQ to... I'm going to go back to that as soon as I put this the delay and chorus, which plays the big role in capturing that tone. So after the EQ, taking away some of this low end here and some of this high mid, I know it's like, well, wouldn't you want to crank some of this up? Let's kind of get this delay on, and you'll see what I mean. I always go back to that EQ to shape the tone a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of delay. And that's just an eighth note delay, and just dialing into taste about 17% or so, just a little bit of that there, so that we can hear a little bit of repetitiveness of the notes after each other. Here's the spotlight key gem of getting the tone, and that's just the Ableton Live stock chorus, or any chorus for that matter. Right, that chorus just took it there. So it was really, really cool. And that chorus is really just one of my favorite effects to place on any like electric guitar patch. So we've got the guitar riff there, and then I normally have a utility plugin on every audio channel. It just comes. I have it saved for default. All right, and oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Where was it going? See, this is live, guys. This is no idea what I was gonna say something. Totally forgot. I digress. Okay, we've got the guitar down, and now let's go ahead and Well, here's the other option. If you don't play guitar, if you're not a guitar player, you've seen me use this a lot in other videos. Let's use the Contact Electric Sunburst. And it's loading. All right, so Electric Sunburst, they have like this melody mode here. I could click and drag that. Now the melody mode is cool because then it allows you, usually by the Electric Sunburst, they have pre-programmed and presetted rhythmic patterns that you could play. And with those rhythmic patterns here, you can go ahead and just and play the chords, and it would play the rhythmic pattern. But with the melody edition, you can literally just go ahead and now play the single tone melodies. And I'm gonna have it open. And let's take this as played here. Choose open or muted. Right, so now I go. Oh, sorry. So I can play the notes there and then just use this plugin and do the same processing. But there's little subtleties and differences that I miss when I'm just actually playing, plugging the telly directly into the interface, and then well, here, let's swap. Let's try this out. I'll grab the whole effect processing that we're doing on the guitar and place it on the Electric Sunburst. And by default, this has some amp and stuff on there already, so we'll take that off. And so it's pretty cool. It can get the same type of vibe. So I might even like play that down and layer it with this one. But all right, let's go ahead and move on to the drums. Now here we have a drum rack loaded with some sounds. And let's hit this here. And I will be sure to upload this into a link so that you can download the sounds that I'm using and the guitar riff as well. So here's this pattern. It has the one thing to keep in mind too, and sorry for my Chris, and I'll pause in a minute, answer some questions you guys might have. But one thing to consider is we're in a 6/8 time signature. So if you're new to producing music and you're realizing, hey, this has got this really cool swing vibe to it. Well, we're in 6/8. The tempo is 79 BPMs, and that's 6/8. But something interesting, even the phrasing and the way that the song is structured is a bit unique too, because it's not just your standard 4 bars or 2 bars or anything like that. The pattern is interrupted, and then he starts the downbeat a little bit earlier. So it's almost like it's like 3 bars and 3 bars and 2 beats. So it's a little different. Yeah, sorry you can't fast forward to what you wanted to focus on. All right, so I'll try to stay focused, but hey, first time for everything, right? This might not work out, and I probably won't do this again. I don't know. Who knows? So let's go back to the drums. So let's take a look at the pattern here. And what I've got is the kick drum pattern. It's pretty straightforward, but the kick on the 1. And so with a little bit of sound designing, now that sounds fine. I'm just kind of going through sound selection and just kind of finding the tones and sounds that kind of match the reference. But I want to add a little bit more depth and beef to them. So I've been using this plugin Torque by Waves, which is amazing because what this does is it allows you to detune the drums in real time and actually add some great harmonic depth to them. So you're adding a bit more body and tone with this. So I'll have it off. And you could definitely hear that beefiness of that kick open up a lot more. And the speed determines, like, it's almost as if the decay of the harmonics of the setting. And there's the threshold there. So I'm kind of just playing that right there. And I'm going to use the Softtube Saturator. This is a free plugin from Softtube. You can just go on their website and download this for free. And I'm going to keep the low harmonics and just give this some extra crunch. Now, one thing I want to focus in on that is on that hi-hat. That hi-hat does have an EQ on it so that we can... I kind of want to filter it out. Filter out the hi-hat a little bit, obviously in the low end, and just shave off a little bit of the high end there. I could have also used the filter here. Where am I here? Oh, here it is. There it is. Now, the reason why I didn't use the filter, the onboard filter for the hi-hat to calm it down, is because I also wanted to get rid of some of that low end. So using an EQ on that hi-hat. And it helps the hi-hat sound a little bit further back in the mix. So yeah, that Torque plugin is amazing. It's great having that on my drums because it just adds the beef. Because sometimes I can be like, well, let me layer the kick with another beefier kick, and that might work too. But having this on there just solves the issue right away. And then I could use an EQ to just now tame that extra low end that we added in. So let's see what that's like with the guitar. All right, cool. Let's head over to layering now on top of that guitar riff and the drums. Well, actually, we'll just pause here. Give you guys a moment to just jump on some questions you might have about what we've covered. I'll answer that live, and then we'll keep on moving to some of the things. So we've got, what was the organic drum plugin called? Oh, it's Torque by Waves. It's a Waves plugin. I'll put a link to it in the description box once the stream's over, but you'll probably look on it now. Yeah. Any questions? Anything else you guys want to? The vibe is there. Well, thank you, Justin. Yeah, Torque is awesome. It's just a great plugin I had. That's just all around. What's a way to make the cymbal sound more human? Well, let's do that now. Do you always distort your drums? I do like adding saturation to the drums, and it depends too. Not always, but definitely when I'm using, like, let's say addictive drums or any acoustic drum kit, I add saturation because they're normally not they're not recording samples with saturation, so I like to add that there. I might, when it comes to like loading one shots and things like that from sample packs or just stuff like that, you gotta, does it sound like it's completely already saturated? So yeah, the saturation though is another form of gluing your drums together. So I always do like having some kind of saturation, whether it's the Ableton Live saturator or this Softtube saturator. The reason why I'm using this one as opposed to the other one is I want to be able to just to keep the low end here, keep the low harmonics, and just kind of crunch everything else. So that's kind of why I have it. Somebody asked the question, how can I get that cymbal to sound a little bit more natural and not so, amateurish? Well, let's do that now. Let's go into our drums right here. Let's go to that cymbal. It's just a 909 crash. And what I'm going to do is soften this up. Let's soften up that cymbal with a reverb directly on the cymbal. Not too much. Okay, lower the decay time. And the reason why it comes off a little bit as, cheap or something is because it ends. There's no real reverb, or the tail isn't natural in this one here. So I'm going to just lower that down, and then I'm going to EQ the reverb and find this little right there, and just kind of bring that down a little bit. And that's just gonna help. I wanted to have some, some splash and some brightness there, so that, and that makes it just that just kind of gives it a nice dimension there with the drums. All right, let's keep going. So we've got some muted guitar parts that are going on here, and I've also kind of recorded the guitar parts here muted. But I want to do a couple things here. So I just did a one take of this guitar part, just strictly all the way through. I'm saying it's not the greatest. So let's do this. Let's make sure that we've got all these lined up. You can see here that these transients, this is off a lot here. So let's go ahead and snap in the first one. Let's just highlight this whole section here. Let's highlight all of this and just hit Command U to quantize. And I'll undo that. I'm going to show you my quantize settings are going to be every 16th note at 45%. So this is going to nudge every transient to the nearest 16th note in this grid. So I'm taking the audio there, and I'm literally going to quantize it, right? So Command U, and that's going to snap everybody slightly to the nearest 16th note. Some will be off here, so I'll do that. There you go. And just kind of make sure that, and for the most part, everybody is on. There you go. Just a little like that. Okay. And what I'll do, since that riff is the same, oh, there's a couple guys off here. Right here. Boom, boom, boom. So move these guys over. I know you other guitar players out there watching this, you're probably cringing, but I'm doing this on purpose to kind of, yeah, right. Yeah, I did that on purpose to show. But I'm just kind of, I want to show you how I would normally. So if I got this part here, I'm going to be able to double that with a continuous take. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and open up another track. Drag this down here. All right, we're going to double this up. Right there. And what I'll do is I'm going to extract the grooves, because I want to actually match the timing here. Extract grooves. So I'm actually going to take the... I don't need to extract the grooves. I can just go here and just quantize this as well. The same settings that I just did. And that'll... So now we've got two takes here. I'm going to pan them hard left, hard right, but let's add a little amp. And I'll use a different amp simulator here just to kind of another taste. Let's use the Over Loud by THU. How you guys doing there? Someone says that their guitars sound trash when they quantize. Well, I'm getting away with it here on the muted guitars because they're really more for the percussive. It's really hard, like let's say if we quantize the actual melody line, you can see here that I'm not quantizing the main melody line, and that's fine because sometimes the artifacts do get noticed. And so what I would recommend is instead of warping them or adjusting them in Beats mode, you want to definitely warp them in Complex Pro. That's going to give you the best results possible. So here he is. Here's the first muted. And I'm going to use, let's go, the reed player is fine. I'm going to use the Black Star HT. Just want a little bit of crunch. And add maybe a direct mix to this. Okay, now we'll copy that same setting onto this one here. And let's give a hard pan left, a hard pan right. And let's group these two. And once we've grouped those guitars, I'll unsolo that here. Now I really kind of want to, I'm going to make them extra wide and sweep the, so we're going to use an EQ, but we're going to switch this EQ from stereo mode to MS, the mid sign. All right, so let's take away some of the low end on the mid. But when I switch to the side here, if I listen to that, that's fine having, we'll have that a little bit, that bottom on the width a little bit there, so. And I am going to use Spiff. Let me see if I can find Spiff. Great plugin by Oak Sound. I'm going to be doing a whole, by the way, and I think next week, I'm just doing a whole week of plugin reviews and just my favorite plugins that I use, how I use them, and things like that. So I'll definitely be highlighting this and other ones. But Spiff is a great transient designer tool. I really want those to be nice and short. This is what you. So that's what it's accentuating, and I want a little bit more of that. And now let's. All right, now let's create a bass, because the bass is really going to play a big role in this too. How you guys doing over there? How's this going, by the way? This is the first time we've done this live stream breakdown. You guys let me know. You digging this? This is cool. I'll pause here for some questions and stuff, but for the most part, I don't know how this was going to work out. Someone's asking, is RC20 retro color worth it? Absolutely. I love that plugin. It's a great plugin. How we doing, guys? So much stuff going on. I have to catch up in the chat. Could you realistically make this sound the same without buying any plugins? I don't know. It depends. Yeah, I'm going to save the video. I'm going to have this up for you guys, okay? What interface are you using to record the guitar in? I'm going directly into the Focusrite Claret 8 Pre. And, okay. Cool, let's keep going. So let's focus on the bass. I'm thinking a nice bottom but wide bass would be good, because when I listen to the reference and the bass isn't just it's not just subby, it's kind of like it's got like it's a very filtered Hoover bass, and so it's nice and wide as well, and it's going to help with that muting that we just created. So let's start with a wavetable, and I'm going to head over to a sawtooth. All right, so first oscillator, sawtooth 1. Second oscillator, let's put sawtooth as well, and let's go an octave lower on that. So -12 semitones. All right, and let's start to detune the second oscillator, so we get a nice, until you get that little dissonance happen. And let's filter this down. Just a little bit of resonance. And let me just go an octave lower here. So I'm going to lower. You guys might need to hear this on headphones, or if you got your studio monitors, you definitely want to put that up. So let's go ahead from polyphonic to monophonic and add a nice classic unison to get the width here. All right, so let's go ahead and track this in with our guitar parts. All right, that's cool. We got that there. So let me actually get the part where I played the riff right over here. And move this over to this section here. So let's quantize all of this. And we also need to shorten the release a little bit so that when those notes let go, it's not lingering too much. Especially in this part here, the turnaround. So that first note, let's cut that. I think I'm missing that. Missing that little. There it is. Happy birthday. And line him up to where he belongs. And this one needs to start. It's a little because of that whole, the difference in time, the place, the turnarounds are different. Now let's give this some filter drive. And a little bit of filter drive. And I'm going to put the subharmonic on here. Little. Back. All right, cool. And let's see. Amp simulator, bass, and a little bit of. And use an EQ after that, and then just take away all that low end, of the high end, sorry. And now let's put that in the mix. I like to put that next to my drum part. Sorry, this is way off. This should be right here. All right, these guys are off. There you go. And that's better. All right, guys. And then so we've got our bass there to lower that in. And then I've got a couple other, we're going to raise the mutes a little bit. And then I'm going to use the utility plugin in Ableton Live right on those little, the muteds, the mute guitars, and widen the width. We want it really wide. I've also got some guitars here that I recorded earlier. So I'll take that, and this is just adding a little bit more crunch to the vibe. Right here. What a difference that bass makes. All right, so let's just stop there, see what you guys what are you guys thinking so far? All right. Okay, so we've got some of the core elements. There is a cool little pad here that I want to do, that can kind of give some nice atmosphere. So let's make one, and I'll use another wavetable for this. This should have, so let's use a sine wave for this pad. A minor, right? And what we'll do is move the attack up so it swells a little bit. And release over here. And let's put, instead of a low pass, let's put the high pass. Right? Maybe a triangle. Yeah, a triangle would be fine. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of delay. Okay, a little bit of delay. Oh, I'm on the wrong guy. I just added delay to the bass. That's not good. Where's the... There it is. Quarter note. All right, let's add some modulation to this. So we'll go to LFO 1 and we'll do the detune here. Go to the matrix. And then the rate, let's put... Just a little, it's like a pinch of modulation. And we'll go reverb up here. Okay. Maybe a little brighter. Yeah, sawtooth is better. And I'll turn on the second filter here. We'll go to the amp envelope, bring the sustain down, and decay. And now we're gonna use an EQ to shave all that off on the top of it. And now let's go an octave higher. Actually, sustain up because I want that up there, and then a little bit more, and decay a little there. Okay, cool. So we got a nice little pad there. I'm gonna turn on the second oscillator, leave that on a sine wave, go octave higher. That's cool. A nice little, you know, ethereal pad. And I'm thinking wide, so I want a chorus on top of that, but not too much because we have the guitar doing some of the chorus, and I'll send a little bit more reverb and delay. And now let's play that at the very beginning here with these. So it kind of does a really cool thing of gluing the... And then we are going to, let's use S1, right? I like this. Is there imager? You can use the same thing for. If you want to add movement to some of these pads, we can also like modulate the filter. We'll put that one to LFO 2. Sorry, LFO 1. Well, yeah, LFO 2. I did it to 1. All right, there you go. Cool. Any questions, comments, concerns? Oh, there's a second part here. Let's see where we're at with these pads here. Let's add. That should be. All right, cool. Hi guys. Okay, where are we at so far? How are you guys feeling? Can you set a custom default for reverb? The one you just drop looks different to mine. Yes, you can. So whenever you use a reverb or any plugin for that matter, I'll show you how to do that really quick. So let's say you go to audio effects, and let's say that you like your EQ to always start like this, or you might not even want that many bands, or you want your EQ to always be like this. You can just right click on here and set save as default preset. And when you do that, every time you load an EQ, it will load up the same exact way you just saved it. So just saying. All right, guys. How are you thinking? How's it going? Are we close? Does it sound pretty chill? Sounds close. You guys let me know. Lagna's asking, on that saw bass, why did you cut out the high end? Don't you want it to cut through the speakers? Well, yeah, no, but when I'm listening to the reference here, the bass, it's wide, but it there's not a lot of high end going on with the bass. It is nice and wide and low, so yeah. And a lot of the work that goes, a lot of the beauty of this track is really a lot of the vocal production that's going on in the main part in the reference. There's so much great layering and I mean, he's freaking doing great. There's one thing I'll do, and then we'll wrap up with this close, with this breakdown here. So in this drum section here, in this drum rack here, we have this other section. There's like the second verse. So that second verse that we hear, we switch up to a couple of different elements. So there's like a nice crackling snare here. I'll play that. That's sorry. So I took the snare drum from like a drum break. So I like that little crack. But I'm using this plugin called Lossy, which is really good. Should definitely check that out by Goodhertz. Goodhertz. And cool, what it does is kind of emulate like bit loss and things like that. So let me just solo this sound here. So what I'm doing is I'm filtering out the sound. I'm using the onboard filter here. And what's cool is this loss. I can actually make it sound like it's, compressed, bitrate wise, and it makes it sound like it's a. So I want a little bit of that. Filter that out, and then use the onboard reverb that we can adjust. So it's a different type of like bit crusher. I'll start that, and then so. What a difference without that bass. Watch what happens when we put the bass back in. Put the bass right where it belongs. No, I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing all of the parts there. So I know you guys will say. So, yeah, taking a step back here and seeing what I'm kind of like pulling away from this session is definitely spotlighting the guitar tone and sound. How that chorus just a little bit of that just goes a long way, and and then just the getting the width correct with these muted guitar parts here. So let's just double this and put it over there as well. Move it right there. There you go. Oh, wrong place. Always zoom in, guys. Always zoom in. Cool. Any questions you guys might have? We'll just will it be audible? Will the bass be audible in speakers though? Yeah, and we can have another layer. So I'll duplicate this bass here, and then for the duplicate, I'll cut the low end and just have that high end there present, just like that, and then have them both layered. What if I put the so here's the reference track, but if I just put it in the background, YouTube will definitely flag this, but nah, never mind. Yeah, so the vocal processing, there's just a lot of reverb. What I'll do is maybe just do another video where I can focus on the vocal stuff, because if I do it now with this cough and everything, it's gonna sound like a giraffe giving birth to a gorilla backwards. So, but yeah. So, what do you think, guys? I mean, it's pretty there, and it's pretty much there, and that's, and not, you know, the crazy awesome solo that's happening at the end. But I thought this was a cool thing. I really rarely touch on guitar tones and stuff like that, so I wanted to feature this song in particular to kind of cover that. So B Rob is asking, is it better to start with a preset or make it from scratch? I honestly believe it's best to be able to develop the ear training and sound design to know how to manipulate presets. But for me personally, I like going through the beauty about presets is they can be a great launching pad for ideas and really allowing you to hit the ground running to just move. I think the most important part isn't not necessarily the sound, but what you're doing with that sound. What music are you creating? What's the melody? You know, could you get your creative outlet out, and not to be hindered by having to sit there and tweak a synth for 18 minutes, and then you're like, oh, I don't even want to freaking write anymore because I spent all my energy tweaking the sound. But on the other hand, sometimes sound designing in that aspect could spark inspiration, because you might accidentally come across something you're like, whoa, I did this and I turned this knob and now I got this really cool sound. So it's not necessarily one or the other, it's a yes and, you know. So I might start with a preset and do some tweaking on there, or I usually, when I do from scratch, those are times where I'm just kind of bored and just like, well, let me just fiddle around with this and see where I go. But not necessarily like, okay, not when I'm already running with an idea. I don't want to sound design in the middle of that, because I don't want to stop the flow of my my momentum, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? Yeah, this is the telly I used on this. It's a simple telly. It was like $200 at your local music store. Yeah, it's like a Telly Squire, real cheap one, and I just brought it out for this just to kind of, and I like having it around just to do a couple of noodles. Do you use the plugin Serum? Yeah, I use Serum. I like using Serum. Serum's awesome. And a lot of people ask me why not showcase Serum. Well, a big reason why I do a lot of stock plugins and wavetable and stuff like that is just to really encourage a lot of people who are just kind of getting into this, and they might have access to wavetable when they just purchase Ableton Live, or I think sometimes, although Serum is fantastic, I love using it, I think sometimes it could just be me. It could be a mental hang up that I'm on, where I think using Wavetable can kind of seems a lot more inviting to people who are just getting into sound designing. Could be like, oh wow, like that's a stock plugin I have and I could use that, or it doesn't have a lot of the effects and stuff on there, so I want to try to get it as much, try to keep the source as simple as possible. So yeah. So at the beginning of the song, we have that echoey pad sound, so we can literally just take it from the pad that we created and have it. Well, if I need to play the right chords, so it's that E minor there. And then what we could do is, sometimes what I like to do is go to that same pad, Apple G, group that, duplicate that in the same channel, and then for that second one, we just go a whole 2 octaves higher. So we go like a whole 2 octaves higher than that, and open this one up. And now I have that layered with that first pad. Cool. And yeah, during the intro of the song, the echo pad, so there you go. And the Soothe plugin, Soothe is amazing. I'm gonna highlight Soothe and Spith both next week when I do my plugin week mania. So I'm just gonna be putting out a bunch of content all of next week about plugins I like to use, highlighting some plugins that people reached out to me to showcase, just showing some cool plugins and the in and outs. And I think, though, the most important thing about reviewing a plugin, not necessarily like, hey, this is how it works, but more like, how does it make sense to me personally in using it in my creative workflow? Like, we know auto-tune tunes vocals, but how does it make sense to me? How can I use it creatively? And so I always kind of like going with that approach. If you don't play the guitar, the Seaboard Rise is an awesome alternative too. Yeah, those are great tools. So yeah, guys, so thank you for hanging with me. Hey, this was fun. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I know it's not like my other videos in which similarly breaking stuff down, but for the most part, I thought this would be a cool experiment, something really cool to do with you guys on the spot, and just interact with you guys, see how you're doing, and there you go. So any other I think it's cool. I like the way it came out, and pretty good. What do I have on the master? The master, I'm actually just using the OTT plugin by Xfer, but like the depth is at 12%. Not really using a lot of it. And yeah, just kind of when I load this plugin in, this OTT as opposed to the multiband OTT in Ableton, I use it very at a very small percentage. And then using this was off, but that's not even being used. But I probably would lower that first band all the way down. Here, let's try this. And I like widening up my top bands like this. Pretty cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to be wrapping this up. Thank you, guys. Indie course date. Well, the course is done. For all of you guys who've been following along the past couple of weeks, I've been putting up videos on how to produce indie pop. So those of you who have reserved, to get on the waiting list for it, you're going to get hit up with an email this week and how you can access that. So, yeah. Definitely stay on the break. If you want more information about this indie pop course that walks you through producing indie pop, in all aspects, where we take a look at bands like MGMT, Tame Impala, Haim, Maggie Rogers, the 1975, I think the Japanese House. So yeah, all those bands, I kind of just extract the DNA from all that. We kind of start looking at a couple ways to approach and how to create certain specific aspects of sounds that we can hear on the drums, the bass, the synths, and things like that, and implement them. And then I walk you through a production that I'm working on and how I go about implementing those tips and techniques into that. So it's a really cool course. Spent a lot of time and energy into it. And so for those of you who want more information, visit beatacademy.com/indie pop, and you can get all the info you want on that course, as well as if you want the session. So I'm going to upload the session for this in a couple of minutes, and you can have access to these sounds and play around with this session if you like. And that is at beatacademy.com/pack. Guys, thank you so much for being awesome. Looking forward to putting out some more content to really help you move forward with producing the music you've always wanted to produce. Thanks, guys. And if you want more info on how you can, connect with me more, definitely visit the website, beatacademy.com. That's where I really have been investing, I would say, 80% of my energy in the past couple of months. The better part of the year, I've been just pouring into a lot of people, providing some mentorship opportunities in that platform. So visit beatacademy.com, get some more info, what's going on there, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.